I think a lot of people have heard that Andrew Yang is running for mayor of New York. Well, and I mean, I don't know what people think about Andrew Yang, but he came out this morning, or just a little while ago, maybe this afternoon, talking about how, one of the things he's going to do is a universal basic income. So, perfect idea now that the tax base is utterly collapsed. People are fleeing. What the hell's that guy doing backing up into me with his black backpack? People are fleeing the city. The tax base is collapsing. Businesses are closing. Nobody wants to be here. It's become incredibly dangerous. And Andrew Yang now proposes, as compensation for people who want to roll around in the streets and do nothing, intimidate people, have violent, armed militias maraud the streets, terrorize, ex-models and defenseless young women. The cops aren't going to do anything to protect you, and we're going to start handing out money. Perfect. Why get a job? You could continue to riot, protest, destroy the city, and you're still going to get paid. The money's going to come from a magic hole in Andrew Yang's butt, and I guess that's the deal. I'll tell you, I have spoken about running for New York City mayor. I sent 2 emails to the candidate services office. Guess what? They gave me the same response as oh no, is it not live? What did I do wrong? Oh, why is it not live? Damn it. Check out Crowdsource 3 perhaps, folks. How did I screw that up? I checked that so carefully. Oh, the social engineers are really complicating my ability to get this message out to everybody. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it is live. Thankful. Okay, thanks to everybody for watching. If there's any problems during the broadcast, please check out subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I always put director's cuts if there's any problems, where I go back and restore the footage, restore the audio if there's an audio problem. Sometimes the transmission to the internet gets cut off while I'm walking around, but I record it locally, and that allows me to do those director's cuts. So good, we're going out live. Thankful for that. I haven't spoken about this in too much detail, but there's a tight group of social engineers. I mean, it might sound like I'm always just talking about random people, but the issue is, YouTube has changed their rules over the 4 years, and the social engineers that I'm talking about have adapted their methods such that, even when I tell you about what they're doing, they attempt to weave anything I say about them into allegations that seem to find their way into various federal lawsuits that I'm fighting. And they've now, finally, after 4 years, devised a method to really drain my money, which is to sue my corporation. The Emmys are doing that. George's brother now is threatening to do that in California. Of course, they've been sapping my time, which is an even more valuable resource than money. The stress works on your health and all that. But of course, these type of losers will be able to engage in this activity freely in New York City if Andrew Yang becomes the mayor, because they're going to be paid some kind of minimum, guaranteed income, basic income, for doing nothing. I don't think that's not the way a society can work. People need to make things, do a job, invent a product, wash somebody's car, drive them someplace in an Uber. You got to do stuff. We got to have productivity in order to have a country and a city that's worth anything. If everybody is just sitting around collecting money, first of all, where does the money come from? Second of all, how are we going to advance this city? The work that's been being done for the past 10 months has been destroying the city, except for people who are building these lovely greenhouses. I think I spoke about that one there the other day. People can see it. I mean, it's essentially just an indoor restaurant outside. So I don't understand what's going on there. The other thing I wanted to point out is I am trying something new today, doing this mobile live stream at 1080p, full HD res. People know how much I love the whoa. Here's a new Weed World truck with this eagle there. I'm surprised it doesn't have the two heads on it. Uncle Sam, Uncle Graham. Ha. I mean, that's funny. Give him credit for that. But Weed World has the crazy double eagle going there, or single eagle. Yeah, so 1080p, people who've been watching for a while know that I'm quite fascinated by the Japanese principle of Kaizen, which is the constant refinement of a product or a process or a YouTube channel in pursuit of perfection. And I've never had anybody who is Japanese or who speaks Japanese or who knows more about this than me comment on it. If there's somebody out there, let me know, because it's my understanding that one of the principles of Kaizen is that perfection is divine and man cannot achieve it, but it's the pursuit of perfection that's noble. So in trying to make the show more enjoyable for viewers and for sponsors, particularly broadcasting at 1080p. The other thing is there's a practical need for it. It seems to me that a lot of the riotous, raucous, lawless jackasses that are rolling around New York City don't want their faces to be seen, because they know if they're going to participate in riots like what we saw in Washington, D.C. last week, they don't want people using videos like mine as a reference to spot them. There's this kid, John Sullivan, who's all over the Capitol incursion videos. He's right there at the tip of the insurgent spear when Ashley Babbitt is shot. His videos have a watermark on them that says Jaden X. So, you know, he's not in there showing his, I mean, he does show his face on the videos. He's doing something interesting. He's using a false name. That's a social engineering tactic, of course, but he does show his face. Now, what's confusing is, why has this kid, John Sullivan, been able to post on Twitter and YouTube videos that clearly show him inside the Capitol building during this dangerous event that's resulted in the immediate impeachment of the President of the United States and his removal from Twitter? But this kid, John Sullivan, Jaden X, Antifa anarchist, androgynous leader of some destructive movement, who I guess his excuse is that he was in the Capitol because he's a journalist, but I don't think so. You got to go check out his whole YouTube channel and see the number of videos he's got where he's promoting, you know, burning this shit down, and you know, clearly he's present at other BLM and Antifa events. He talks about disguising himself with Trump stuff. He claims it's because people want to kill him. I don't know about that. I never heard of the guy before all this Capitol incursion stuff. And I've never seen anybody at a Trump event show violence and hatred towards a person because of their race. As a matter of fact, in one of his own videos at DC last week, a Trump supporter who happens to be a black man spots him in the crowd and comes right up to him. And he says right away, "You don't look like a Trump supporter." The kid wears black bloc. He's a skinny little, you know, non-Trump supporting looking guy. And that doesn't mean that he isn't a Trump supporter, but it prompted this one individual to ask him. And he did a great job of kind of putting John Sullivan on the spot. I don't know if we ever learned the name of the Trump supporter who was cornering, but he was a tough guy. You would not want to mess with this guy. I mean, you know, John Sullivan's kind of a skinny little kid. This Trump supporter who was approaching him, even if you're big, don't tangle with this guy. So he's asking him, you know, what's your Instagram and this and that. And he did an instant kind of evaluation of him right there. And he figured out this kid's Antifa. He's there. There's another U-Haul. He's there definitely inciting the crowd. And plus now, I believe it was the FBI this morning, came out with a report saying that they have evidence. See, now they put up a sign that says hemp and CBD available. Also, I feel like they had wood or something over their windows the last time I walked by, but definitely weed is going to be legalized pretty soon, because these stores are already moving in and buying up these, you know, vacated retail spaces. So that's interesting. But the question is why Twitter removes President Trump for telling people to walk over to the Capitol building and have their voices be heard, but they allow John Sullivan, Jay Nix, to continue posting videos of, people dressed in Trump-supporting garb. Whether they are or aren't Trump supporters remains to be learned. But I mean, we've just gone so far down this path here without really any evidence. Well, let me correct that. With lots of evidence, but it's not being looked at by the people who are taking this legal action. They're just dead set on impeaching Donald Trump. So it's very troubling. I am out right now just conducting an errand here, and I do like to show people the city while I do that. Gives us an opportunity to kind of walk around and maybe check out some parts of the city that we haven't seen in a few days, see what's going on, how the library is doing. I want to address some concerns that people have had about some of the discussions I've had with my fellow New Yorkers over the past few days. Believe me, everybody, I do not enjoy these conflicts and confrontations with people on the street. But, at the same time, can't have people pushing you around. And we've got to find out what some of these people are up to, who they are, what their agenda is. That guy we saw yesterday taking pictures at the event, he seemed to have some kind of agenda, because he didn't seem to be interested in the event so much as he was interested in who was at the event. Now, it's totally his right to photograph the people at the event. I'm doing that. I always say, if people are out in public, there's no expectation of privacy. And I know Joe and Curtis and the good people who are involved with that protest movement, they're out there because they want their voices to be heard. They're not hiding their faces. They're not even wearing masks. So, when that little annoying guy who thinks New York is his city and I have no right to be in it, I allege that guy is an Antifa supporter, a Democrat, a guy who probably wouldn't be wearing a mask except that he's seen all the videos of people saying whoever is at that Capitol building riot wearing a mask is not a Trump supporter, very likely. I bet you that guy figured, well, I'll take off my mask so I blend in. But, he was at that event photographing me, photographing the crowd, standing far away with a long lens, just acting real creepy. And I watched the video back, he catches Charles' attention before he caught my attention, because he was a sketchy little weirdo doing something sketchy. And I mean, again, I asked him if he was all right, and he gave me a smart-ass answer, and I just sort of told him to have a nice day. I was trying to be as polite as I possibly could, but he was agitating, and it's strange because, he's not a 15-year-old kid. He's not some 25-year-old guy who's at the gym every day and could beat the crap out of me, obviously, easily. That was a slight 50 to 60-year-old man who I don't think would have been much of a match in a physical conflict. Not that I'm trying to challenge the guy, but he just doesn't strike me as the kind of person who would normally be making physical threats like that. Unless he had the confidence of knowing that there were associates of his there in the crowd who would come to his help if there were a physical altercation, or perhaps if he was trying to provoke a physical altercation to get that on the news. Fight at the Trump, anti-vax event or whatever, paint me as some kind of violent, prone to fighting kind of guy. They love to do this. Do people remember, was it when Jeffrey Epstein was being arraigned, that idiot garbage man from Brooklyn was over there trying to provoke me to fight with him outside the courthouse? Come on, we know who sent him there. We know who he's working with. It's obvious. It's easy to tell. For people who don't know, you can go back, watch the archives, but this is what these guys are trying to do. They provoke. They're all about hoaxes. They're all about provoking the other side and then being there with a camera to photograph you when you respond. Even Tara commented the other day that she felt that that's what they were trying to do. So I appreciate people who are writing to me and saying, don't talk to these people, don't engage with these people. I appreciate where that's coming from. People don't want me to be injured, believe me. Nobody wants me to not get injured more than me. But we've got Joe Biden making an announcement tonight at 7:15 about his plans. 7:15, is that it? Is he that prompt? Why not just say 7 and then wait 15 minutes? It's going to be his plan about vaccination and, I don't know, recovery, basically giving away everybody's money and forcing you to get a shot. Seems like what it's going to be about. We'll see later today. So here's the French building that Charles was talking about the other day. I'm about 99% sure this used to be called the Film Building. TFF, it says right there. And it's got Tommy Bahama in it now. But I remember, and the Marlin Bar, I think I used to go there to get sound transferred to full coat when I was at NYU Film. That's some old tech. And for all the people who say that I was making up stories about being a filmmaker, go look that up and tell me what you think. Anyway, Joe Biden's going to tell us about his plans for vaccination and COVID recovery tonight. We've got Andrew Yang talking about the minimum basic income here in New York City. I don't think he's going to make a very good mayor either. The mayor that we need has got to be talking about how he's going to restore safety to the streets, how he's going to get NYPD to get off of their asses and stop texting everybody all day and shopping at Gucci. Let's see what these guys are up to. Are these NYPD? Standing around texting, of course. They get their eyes on the phone rather than whatever danger might be happening around here, and they're shopping at Juju, doing nothing. The cops are here to do nothing, and they're doing a great job of that. Right?
Doing nothing.
The cops are doing nothing, right?
Exactly.
Did you see the video the other day of a young woman who was being attacked by Antifa right in front of NYPD, and they told her to stand 6 feet away?
Thanks to Mr. Blasio, our mayor.
Do you feel safe in New York?
Very kind of him to make them off duty and don't make your work.
Do you feel safe in New York? It's dangerous now, isn't it?
For hours I'm here in the office, yes, but if I have to walk in the street, no.
You don't feel safe on the street. Have a good day. So there's another person who doesn't feel safe on the streets of New York, rightly so. Now, I'm not going to a protest right now. I am going to avoid talking to anybody unless they're, sort of friendly like that. But it's a wreck. It's a wreck. And so, yes, I appreciate people telling me, oh, don't do this, don't do that. But it's important that people understand crowdsource the truth doesn't mean crowdsource everybody's opinion. The reason I created Crowdsource the Truth was so that thousands and thousands of people could see the details that I'm showing in these videos and hear the information that the various guests I bring on the show share. And then out of the vast group of thousands who see it, there's people who know things about places and incidents and circumstances about the things we're discussing and exploring, and that leads to more information. So while kind comments are always welcome, people's opinions about things really aren't what I'm looking for. And I know every individual feels that their opinion is important, but you see, there's a strange thing that happens when you create a YouTube channel and thousands of people are looking at what you're doing and trying to communicate with you. You get a lot of input. And it makes it impossible to absorb it all, to take it all in. So these opinion-based statements about what I should do, people really should refrain from sharing that. Because first of all, you don't know what's going on. You see me for a fraction of the time I'm spending during the day. Everybody in the audience knows only a small amount of the details of my interactions with whoever it might be. Kevin Shipp, that was that woman that I saw there on the street in Washington, D.C., who I had a rude response when she wrote to me about Kevin Shipp, and I apologized to her for that. But here's this guy. I've spoken to him before. Here's more cops texting. Perfect. Great way to not pay attention to what's going on. That's called situational awareness. The guy's looking at his damn phone. It should be against the rules for NYPD to be using their phones while they're on duty. And if there's information that they need from headquarters, it should come to them through an earplug so they can keep their attention on what's going on around the street. If they miss some sketchy person in a crime, the cops don't seem focused on preventing crime or responding to it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they do either. So people's opinions about me, if you don't like me, you don't like what I do, it's just not important. And also, I don't care. You don't know me. And, if you knew what to do, create your own YouTube channel and show me how to do it. Don't just write me some email. I mean, think about it. When you're writing an email, think about how you would feel if somebody you didn't know and had never met started writing to you and telling you what to do, how to conduct your personal relationships, how to conduct yourself around other people. I mean, it's just so presumptuous, it's beyond words. And then certain people get surprised when they get a negative reaction from me, so I just don't know what to say. I do appreciate input from people, but like life advice from somebody you don't know, come on, get real. There's Cartier. Yeah, so I'm back on Fifth Avenue. I'm heading uptown. Kind of covering similar ground to where I was with Charles the other day. But I'm very distressed. A lot of people have been sharing concerns about staying in New York. Not just people emailing, watching the show. Everybody has concerns about being in New York right now. The place is falling apart. And Il Duce, Dr. Strangegov, with his Emmy Award-winning tactics, now he says it's important that we reopen immediately. I don't understand how any thinking person can take this seriously. Go ahead and hate Donald Trump if that's what you want to do, but that shouldn't cause reality to break down and the universe, sense to stop making sense and physics to no longer work. That guy was eyeballing me. Looked like Sacha Baron Cohen. Everybody's got a shitty look on their face. There's so much meanness here on the streets right now. It's just intolerable. And everybody tells me, calm down. No. Look, there are times where certain responses are appropriate. And people need to be realistic about what's going on. This situation is not going to get better in a week. And I mean, there's a lot of people saying, oh no, Trump is sending National Guard to Washington, D.C. to do what? I don't know, take over or something. I just don't see it. I'm not into predictions. People are talking about various social engineers who are making predictions about what's going to happen, and QAnon and Donald Trump are going to do whatever it is, and they make predictions. I'm not really into predictions. I'm more into analyzing what's happened in the past, what's happening now, and trying to understand things as they happen. Making these wild predictions, like I know David Knight was talking about Steve Pieczenik appearing on InfoWars, and I don't even know what Pieczenik was saying, but it does seem like he's said a lot of things that are just, very much oriented towards the 17th letter of the alphabet. And there was a guy I spoke to yesterday. I appreciate him giving me a call. He was in the chat talking about the 17th letter of the alphabet, which, by the way, just talking about it is something that YouTube has used to remove channels. So right there, it's not speculation that it's being used to eliminate people from the internet. So if it is being talked about in the chat in a way that I feel is not sensible and just designed to promote it, or a lot of people tell me, oh, you didn't even read the drops, you need to study it. I don't need to study it to know what it's all about. People are getting sucked in reading these things and finding little things that connect to coincidences. Well, if it is what I claim it is, that stuff is put there deliberately to trick you. The whole purpose of it, in my opinion, was to rope people into something that they all along intended to say, see, this is crazy. People talking about it and following it are crazy. And here's a crazy guy, wearing a Chewbacca uniform or whatever the hell that guy with the horns was wearing. And he's a nut. And now they're saying that sensible Republicans in Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're saying she's a QAnon supporter and a conspiracy theorist and whatever they're saying. They're saying that she's anti-LGBTQ and all these kind of things. I looked into each of those stories, and just like they did with Donald Trump, these are smear stories, smear campaigns to make the candidate who has proposed impeaching Joe Biden on day one, which I fully support. They're just trying to make her look bad so that she can't gain political support for one impeachment that actually makes a hell of a lot of sense. I could not believe the responses to Representative Taylor Greene on, I'm pretty sure that's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I hope I've got that right. But I couldn't believe the responses to her on Twitter, because people were, like when she said she's going to introduce articles of impeachment against Biden, people were literally saying, for what? Okay, we're still live. People were saying, for what? Like there's mainstream news watching Democrats who literally think that the laptop was Russian disinformation, which doesn't even make any sense. A laptop is a physical item. It's not information. They have the laptop. They have Tony Bobulinski confirming under oath in front of the FBI and court, wherever he was doing that these communications are authentic. It's just brain-bending how you can have tremendous, incredibly convincing evidence that is just like bulletproof, and they're oblivious to it. And then you can have an event with no evidence, and they're convinced that Donald Trump did it. So now that the FBI has said that they have evidence that this military attack was well coordinated and planned, what is that going to do to the impeachment? How could Donald Trump have incited something if it was planned days before? I mean, it's obvious to people who watch Crowdsource the Truth, but we're starting to see how facts don't seem to matter. I'm very curious what's going to happen in Washington, D.C. on the 20th. They're talking about 20,000 troops. I saw someone, a Crowdsource the Truth Twitter user, had posted a thing saying 20,000 troops is more troops than they have in Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq right now. That's pretty wild. But I think you're not allowed to go. Like, it's a virtual inauguration where like Tom Hanks and Lady Gaga are running it. The optics of that are terrible. Now, I'm going to be on Lee Stranahan's radio show later today, 5:15. That's the backstory with Lee Stranahan. This is this new electric car company from Volvo that's competing with Tesla. That's like $100,000 for an electric Volvo. There it is. But yeah, I mean, Lee seems convinced that there was no Antifa at the Capitol building, and I need to disabuse him of that misunderstanding on his part, because I've seen extremely strong evidence that there were. Well, let me rephrase. I can't for sure say that they were Antifa. Well, no, in the case of John Sullivan, you can. I mean, he's all over other Antifa events, and he's a leader of something called like Insurgents USA or something like that. And there he is at the head of the insurgents. It's amazing that he's one of the 3 people who happened to video record the shooting of Ashley Babbitt. He's remarkably good timing, coincidental, purely happenstance that he's there when that occurs. And have we heard the name of the officer who shot? I mean, there was that, I think it was John Solomon saying that the Metro PD refused a FOIA request because the results would be embarrassing or something along those lines. interesting to see what's being constructed and what's being destructed. I saw Antifa there. I spoke to Antifa there. I'm convinced Antifa was there. The other thing is I was watching a little Periscope, TikTok, whatever it was, from our buddy, not True Pundit Mike Moore, but the filmmaker Michael Moore, from Flint, Michigan there. And he apparently is, he's got a friendly relationship with various Congress members from interviewing people and filming in Congress before. And I actually would say it's worth listening to his video, because even though I disagree with him, he raises some points that were quite interesting. He said that there were clear signs that the Capitol Police were colluding with the crowd, but then he jumps to the conclusion that therefore must mean that Republican Congress members were assisting the crowd. Well, how can you jump to that conclusion? How do you know it wasn't Democrat Congress members? Hasn't Ilhan Omar been involved in protests that have resulted in her getting arrested previously? Why don't we examine if she was helping Antifa? I mean, what about all these people who were raising money to bail out criminals who burned down our cities? Why don't we ask them if they were still helping their allies and giving them tours? I mean, Michael Moore raised a very good point that the mob gets in there and gets to locations that are difficult to find, even if you know the building. And I absolutely agree with him. I've been through those congressional buildings. It's like a maze. I mean, I'm a bad example. I could get lost in my own apartment without a GPS, but it is a complicated thing to navigate over there. Have people seen that mini Statue of Liberty? And then we have also here more outdoor dining. This is a place that seems to be doing pretty well. Also, it's remarkably warm today. It's about 46 or 47 degrees. So, and this is Serafina, pretty big restaurant chain that I guess has made a deal with this parking garage to have a lot of space on the sidewalk, so perhaps they can accommodate something close to their normal clientele. The food looks beautiful. Wow. And we see more moving and storage trucks. So, Andrew Yang going to give out all this money. The only people who are going to remain here are going to be criminals and homeless people trying to live in the fountain in Washington Square Park. So he can pay people to do that. It'll be great. I don't know who's going to want to come here. But that's what we're facing. So Michael Moore raised some interesting points. The FBI, after 2 days of investigating one of the most significant events in the history of the country, arrives at conclusions that just seem absolutely incorrect. At least they were quick at arriving at their incorrect conclusions. So Kahana is asking Juan O'Savin, social engineer or legit? I say he's a social engineer. We never see his face. That's not his real name. He came out initially dealing with Field McConnell, who's a liar and a social engineer. And, people are saying, right, snowstorm coming. Well, so that's what I heard. There's supposed to be a polar vortex, but how is it 46 degrees right now? I don't know what's happening with that polar vortex. Let me not get the light here. Yeah, so polar vortex, I don't know. Let's see what the weather says for the next several days. No. 45 tomorrow and rain, 46 Saturday, 43 Sunday. I mean, this is really bizarre, really unseasonable weather. So I don't see how there will be a polar vortex. I think people really need to, 46 degrees and eating outside. Well, Michael Moore is a shill. It's possible he is a shill. I agree with that. But you never know. Sometimes people are convinced of these things. And maybe he actually believes what he's saying. I don't know. I think he's wrong. Yeah, Juan O'Savin is no good. And you know what? I was initially really interested in what Roseanne Barr was talking about. There was a time a couple months ago that she was, I thought, promoting my show with David Hawkins, which will be on tomorrow. People can watch David Hawkins' Discovery CSI. It's a sponsor-exclusive show on Patreon and Subscribestar. It really helps me when people join subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I just couldn't be doing this show without the support of the generous sponsors, and people wouldn't be seeing New York City. How's the Amazon deliveries going?
What's up?
How's the deliveries going? Amazon?
Going well, yeah. Dutch.
Busy as hell, right?
It is actually. A lot of work too, pulling these cars in this traffic.
Let me ask you real quick. Is there anybody trying to like steal stuff from you? There's been a lot of people trying to bother me.
Not for me.
Stay safe, dude. I'll see you soon.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I didn't hear what he said there. Maybe people will pick it up. But glad to know that delivery guys aren't getting bothered. But yeah, it helps me quite a bit when people sponsor the show. I just wouldn't be able to carry on doing this. And I am trying to formulate a plan to leave New York City. So that would mean huge changes to my life, to the show, and all that. But I think Sunday was a big turning point. And I say that because, you know, obviously I don't know Tara that well, but just from meeting her and talking to her and hearing about her story, the police will not protect anyone. Antifa knows that. They said that to her. They said they're not going to protect you. There was a story this morning in the New York Post that some guy got punched by like 5 different people. I think they broke his jaw, stole his cell phone. I mean, we're just in an utterly lawless city. So if the cops aren't going to help, I need to move somewhere where I can exercise my Second Amendment rights and protect myself. Because there's nobody who's going to do it for us. It's like Larry Klayman says. And you got to get on to Patreon and Subscribestar, because if these social engineers succeed, and they're trying every single day, they're going to knock out the channel. Here's another U-Haul. Everybody is hauling out of New York City over here. Canine Styles. If you want a cute shirt for your dog, I guess that's the place to get it. There's a dog store over here somewhere, if it's still around. I don't remember. But anyway, lots of stuff out of business up here. I'm close to my destination, so I'm gonna wrap it up for now. I saw Dr. Ruth Westheimer made some announcement from the Javits Center yesterday that she got her COVID vaccine. So I might try later today to head over to the Javits Center and check that out. If I do, that is very likely going to be posted just as a sponsor-exclusive video on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, just as a thank you to all of the generous sponsors who make the show possible, and also because I need money. I'm getting sued by all of these jokers, and if you want to help with the counter lawfare fund, now see, that's interesting. Why is that? It's not playing, but if you go to crowdsourcethetruth.com and scroll down past today's video, or it might be yesterday's video, you'll see the counter lawfare sponsorship opportunities. You get an annual subscription, you know, pick the sponsorship level that you like. Help me show social engineers that they can't just bully people because they have more money and more lawyers and try to sue me into silence. Look at these restaurants across the street. Look at what these government assholes are doing to this city, putting these small business owners through. It's really terrible. It's really terrible. But anyway, I'll see everybody later. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.